All right, welcome to another episode of Mastery Monday. So every Monday we bring you training content to help you overcome some of the biggest challenges that we're seeing working with B2B sales organizations. So grab a pen and paper, grab a coffee, and let's get into this episode. So the agenda for today is, and the topic I want to talk to you about is how to build more champions. So when I'm working with the sales organization and we're doing like a win-loss analysis or we're listening to gong calls and doing some coaching, what we're finding is far too many sellers' deals are single threading. So we want to help you build more champions, more advocates, more raving fans in the organization to make it feel like a safe bet and drive consensus. Okay. So single threaded deals, they take far too long to close. Usually that one person's trying to figure out the best way to get finance to approve the deal. That's if they close at all because of lack of confidence and lack of alignment to corporate objectives. The other thing is that all of your hard work doesn't end and ultimately result in you getting paid, right? So super frustrating. So today I want to talk about how in my last business, we went from 2 people in an enterprise account to 24 people in their office in London around a whiteboard with sticky notes for 3-4 hours, and how we got the deal green lighted at the end of that and had the business case approved and moved into the procurement process. Okay. So some of the top mistakes I want to take you through first, then we're going to jump into champion or lack of champion enablement and what you can do to overcome that. How to get everyone into the room. I'm talking about workshops here. Fantastic use case and opportunity for every seller, especially in a mid-market enterprise context. How do we actually figure out who to involve and when? So stakeholder mapping, I've got some tips for you there. How to run the session and how to do it in person or virtually. And then follow up best practices, how to be seen as a consultant, a trusted advisor, not a salesperson. So let's talk about the problem that you guys are probably running into in most cases when it comes to multi-threading. So you're hopping on a call, using like some of these like tactics that people in the US promote all the time, like who in the business would feel left out if they weren't included in the sales process? Like people aren't going to feel left out, right? They're just not going to be aligned to the initiative. So rather than jumping on and saying like, who do you think we should bring in? It's like, dude, I don't know. You cold called me. Now I'm in a meeting. I don't even know really what you guys do because you're not showing me the product. Now you want me to figure out who I need to be bringing to this conversation. Like, I don't really know. Like, you tell me. Okay. So one of the challenges is a lack of prep, but also poor questions. Okay. So from a question perspective, which I prefer like leading the witness. So I'll give you that example in a second. But like one question you could ask is something like, hey, Sarah, like, have you ever been through this process before? Yeah, we bought CRM 3 years ago. Got it. Like, what did the team look like in terms of project? Like, who was involved? When did they get involved? Why did they get involved? That kind of stuff. Like, give them some framing if they've been through this before. Okay. If not, you could ask them, hey, who else in the organization would be motivated to solve this problem? Who else is impacted? Who else might be struggling? Get to those people fast, understand their why. Are they motivated to do something about it? Could I qualify them as a champion, right? What I prefer to do is when I'm doing pre-call planning, I'm going to Sales Navigate and I'm looking at the different people in that organization. Let's say, for example, I was selling, I don't know, Gong. Like I might go and look for like sales leadership, customer success leadership, maybe account management leadership, and then maybe marketing, because there's a bunch of different angles, right? If I go to marketing, if I go to sales and I can get marketing involved, well, marketing might be able to partly fund it because they can access hundreds or thousands of conversations with prospects and probably improve website copy and campaigns because they'll be using customer voice, not just making the stuff up, right? So if I can get through to those people, then maybe I can get some more like deal insurance, right? And make this deal feel a little bit more like a safe bet. So it all comes down to pre-call planning. There's no like real magic question you can ask. Unfortunately, you got to do the hard work, which is spending good time before the discovery call, mapping the account, understanding who you want to speak to, why do you want to speak to them, and then leveraging that on the call. Okay, so big mistake or big challenge to overcome is just like a lack of prep and asking poor questions. The second thing I want to talk to you about is lack of champion enablement, right? Like we can't just get to this point where in the sales process we say, right, we've given you everything now, you go and figure the rest out. Okay, if you grab a pen and paper and just do a load of squiggles, that's typically the buying process, right? It's very, very like opposite to like a typical sales funnel. Okay, so that person has got to figure that out on their own in an economy like this where finance is still pretty strict on unlocking cash. Okay, and we're expecting them to go and do all of the hard work. Imagine like them walking down the corridor and dipping their head into different offices, going to dip into operations, going to dip into finance, dip into security, dip into legal, whatever it is you're selling, right? I need to be walking the corridor with them and helping them go and tell the value story. Okay. So lack of enablement is a problem. Think about buyer's guides. Again, DM me if you want to see what these look like, but these are like really clever, highly differentiated documents that you can give to your champion to help them go and drive consensus and get people involved in the evaluation process. And by doing that, you're doing it in like a I'm rigging the game kind of fashion. Okay. So buyer's guides and also like business case, right? Like one of our previous episodes of Mastery Monday was specifically on business case. And it blows my mind how few sales teams are actually building a business case with their champion, co-creating it, doing it in their language so that it really resonates with people internally. That's a massive opportunity for sellers in 2025. So probably the biggest skill for a AE, especially mid-market enterprise in 2025 to acquire and develop. Okay. How to get everybody into the room. So we kind of spoke about this earlier. So once you've done the discovery call, you've done good deal qualification, you've done like the first demo, maybe with the champion, and they're like, hey, really like this. I feel like this could help. Just need to figure out how we, procure this. Rather than jumping to a budget conversation, what you should do is be like, hey, how do I make this deal bigger or at least make it more secure? So go to Sales Navigator, use like the stakeholder mapping tool that's built into Sales Navigator on the account level profile and start to map out different people and then bring that up in conversation with your champion and say, look, you might say something like, hey, typically like 68% of our customers have this persona involved in the evaluation process because of these positive outcomes that we can generate for them. I noticed that Sarah leads that team over there. Would you be open to bringing Sarah into our next conversation? Does Sarah typically come into the office? I'm going to be in town next week. That kind of stuff, right? And I start to plant the seed and frame it that way. If you can get some kind of workshops going, they're unbelievable. Again, you just don't see much content and enablement on workshops, but whenever I've ran workshops, either in person or done it virtually using like a Miro board or Canva, they're great. You can start to get people behind the mission, help drive consensus, but you also start to identify enemies, like people that are against it. Maybe they have got a relationship with the current vendor, or maybe they've got a different initiative that they want the funding for, and they don't want their money that they need to go to this initiative. So you can identify them and do, look at, deal qualification and see what the risk is there from a forecasting perspective. Okay. So yeah, really, really simple process there, but just needs us to think about it slightly differently. Running the sessions is really straightforward. So you frame with your champion why we're all here today in the workshop. Once you've done that, you get some stickies out. So like take some like sticky notes with you or like a pen for the whiteboard and get people to start talking about like objectives. Like what are they trying to achieve? Why can't they get the job done without you? Like where are they struggling? What's the impact of that problem? And then help them identify root cause. Right. So like imagine I was doing that from a sales context, like maybe one of the problems is we're trying to break into enterprise accounts. The challenge that we've got is that we're just struggling to cut through the noise. And that's because our reps are typically SMB reps. They're so used to selling to like small organizations, your high velocity sales. Now we're going into large enterprise. It requires a completely different strategy and skill set and capability, and they don't have it. So we're hitting a wall. Now, if they struggle to put their finger on the problem like that, then I would guide them and coach the people in the room to draw that conclusion themselves. And then they'll realize that they need a solution to solve that. And guess who's there to help solve that problem? I am. So think about how you can like lead the group, lead the witness in that conversation, and get them to really all buy into the better way of doing things. And then once you've kind of done that, you just peel off the sticky notes from the whiteboard or from the wall, or virtually, from the Miro board, and you start running like mini day in the life demos, like 3-5 minute demo sprints to get consensus and start showing people how you can solve the problem and get technical validation before you move to a budget conversation and a budget request process. Okay. Now, 2 things I'll leave you with is follow up like a consultant. So if you're going to bring, like we did, 24 people into one office for 3-4 hours, that's a really expensive meeting for them. We brought 3 people on our side. So there was like 27 of us, something like that, in this one room. It was massive space, to be fair. They were a very large financial service business. So follow-up was really important. We took a good day to like structure like a really valuable follow-up. You want it to feel like, I don't know, they were buying like a consulting session from Boston Consulting Group, and spending tens and hundreds of thousands of pounds on it. Like really thorough, high quality follow-up. So make sure you send that out to the group, to everybody. And then what I want you to do is one killer tactic is also send a one-to-one message to everybody. So if there was 10 people that joined, send the group email and then follow up with everybody individually. Nobody else copied in. Hey, Sarah. Hey, John. Hey, Mike. Hey, Sophie. I shared the insights earlier today. I feel like there's great value for you and your team. I felt like you were really aligned to what we were doing here. I noticed you got a couple of people in your department. Would you want to set up like a separate demo so we can show these people how it works? And that's how you get single threaded from multi-threading is you multi-thread to get lots of people involved, and then you go single threaded with them all individually. And if your champion for whatever reason leaves the business, gets fired, loses energy, you've got lots of different people that you can continue that conversation with. People call that deal insurance. I think that's quite a good phrase for it. Okay. So think about this long and hard. The game's changed, guys. We require a new set of skills. Some of those are around like business case, better stakeholder mapping and deal management, and things like workshops. Like if you're not running any workshops and you're doing mid-market enterprise sales, like you really are leaving money on the table. It's such a powerful strategy and it's worth investing time and energy to upskill in those areas. We've got a load of content to help you do it. So if you need some help, just reach out. In terms of call to action, guys, thanks for watching this video. And if you've been watching a lot of these Mastery Mondays, really passionate about upskilling sellers. So if you need help from a prospecting perspective, we just launched a free prospecting course. We've got like hundreds of lessons across discovery, medic, demo, business case, but this one's just for prospecting. So if you want cold call scripts, AI tools, email templates, video scripts, that kind of stuff, head over to my profile on LinkedIn. There is a link at the top of my profile where you can unlock this. It's completely free of charge, or just send me a DM, shoot me a message, and I'll give you some more information. But until next time, make sure you apply this training. Otherwise, if you don't change, nothing changes. I'll see you next week for another episode of Mastery Monday.